So, in regards to my preaching area, I'm, of course, being from Russia. I spent some time in Russia and other parts of former Soviet Union. Then I'm going to Europe, mostly United Kingdom, and then regularly going to United States, Canada, Japan, Australia, Singapore, Israel, and a couple of times a year coming to India, mostly for pilgrimages. And the type of preaching I'm doing is connected to interfaith and public relations. A project which I'm working on is connected to the United Nations, and it is meant to facilitate the development of the very first purpose of ISKCON, which is to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and teach all people the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values and achieve real unity and peace in the world. And in fact, we have a lot of high-level contacts and plenty of people who are very supportive of us and very much interested to participate or facilitate what we're doing. And I had many interesting experiences dealing with these people, whether they are from political background or from business background or specialists of different types like yoga masters, etc. So all these people, they've been very enthusiastic about helping us. For example, in Japan, which I believe has one of the greatest potentials on the planet. As we know, Srila Prabhupada, before he went to US, he was contemplating of going to Japan, and I think he had very good reason for doing that, because Japanese people are extremely capable in producing high quality in whatever they deal with, and we see that they conquered the whole world with their technology. And if they take up to Krishna consciousness very seriously, they can easily taking over the whole world with Krishna consciousness. We only need to convert Japan, and then we can consider our job to be done. One experience I had being invited by one of our friends who is a yoga teacher in Swami Shivananda's tradition. And even though this tradition is kind of impersonal, but he is a very close friend of devotees. And amazingly enough, he got very devotional name from Swami Shivananda personally when he was a child. His name is Bhavagrahi, and he comes from Katak, which is very close to Jagannath Puri, so he's very fond of Lord Jagannath, and uses every opportunity to introduce Krishna consciousness or Bhakti yoga to his students, so much so that other yoga teachers are calling him Krishna Guru. And he invited us to the program, and it was very interesting because when we came, we didn't know what to expect, but we brought instruments with us, and another devotee brought books. And we've introduced kirtan. We said that everyone can chant and dance with us. We taught them how to do it. And we've started kirtan, and all these yoga teachers were so enthusiastic that for 2 hours straight they were chanting and dancing non-stop. And I became quite fatigued at some point. I decided to stop the kirtan and I stopped singing and stopped playing. But despite of that, kirtan didn't stop. They just continued chanting. I was very surprised. I never had this experience. They got so much into it, they didn't even notice that I've stopped leading the kirtan. They just carried on chanting. I thought, okay, what to do? I'll continue with them. So I continued for another maybe half an hour or an hour before they actually stopped. And so much enthusiasm for chanting and dancing I rarely even see amongst devotees. And then after the kirtan and before the prasadam, the other devotee came forward and he said, we have books on Bhakti Yoga in Japanese language, and this devotee is Japanese, so he spoke in Japanese language. And a couple of people came forward to look at the books, but this yoga teacher who invited us, Bhavagrahi, he was not very happy with that. And he stood up, and he's a pretty powerful personality, because he's practicing his yoga very seriously for more than 45 years now, since he's 7 years of age. And he even has yoga CDs. He can stop his heartbeat and start it again. He can stay under the water for many hours without breathing. He can go in samadhi for 3 days and 3 nights, not even moving an inch, even though he's very dynamic and sport type of personality. And he can even levitate. But he speaks about himself very humbly that I'm not very serious yoga practitioner, I can only levitate a couple of meters above the ground, but my brother, he can fly. And his guru, he can teleport himself from one place to the other without even physically flying. So he said, what I know is just, like very basic and very primitive achievement comparing to what yoga can actually give. But he's very impressive. What he's demonstrating makes him so influential in the yoga world in Japan that he's the only person in the history of the country who was given yoga visa in Japan. And even though he's marine engineer, but he never worked as such, he always taught yoga. And so, because he is so impressive as personality, everyone listens to him immediately. And he stood up, he said, look, these people, they traveled so far. We went from Tokyo to Niigata. And they brought all these books just for you to see. And you don't even bother yourself to stand up and make few steps to look at the books. Now, all of you stand up, and everyone stood up. Line up, and every single one of you have to buy the book. And they all bought the books very enthusiastically, and one man bought 20 books of the same title. And I was a little surprised, why does he need so many books of the same books? So many copies. And he said, no, that I'm a yoga teacher myself, and I will distribute these books to my students. So they took it very seriously. And so this is one example that we have, through that work, through that project, we make so many friends who are really helping us with outreach, the type of outreach we would never be able to have on our own. So this is the kind of preaching I'm trying to do.